the Nelson Mandela Children's Fund is launching a groundbreaking child poverty study. Now, this study is a crucial step towards understanding and tackling child poverty in South Africa, highlighting pressing challenges and outlining pathways to a brighter future where every child can thrive. For more on the story now, here's reporter Calvin Dludla, who joins us live from Soweto. So good morning to you, Calvin. Can you tell us what's happening where you are right now? I'd assume that some important issues that pertain to child poverty will be addressed.
Good morning to you, Mxolisi Masango, and good morning to our SABC viewers. As you have mentioned in your introduction, yes, the Nelson Mandela Children's Fund is hosting a poverty launch. It's aimed at children. They are tackling issues that are facing children, especially when it comes to poverty. But I have the Chief Executive Officer of the fund, that would be Dr. Nkomo. Thank you very much for your precious time, Dr. Linda. You can tell us about the program of today and what are you aiming?
Thank you very much for being here and realizing the importance of media covering the issues that affect children. Today we are here on the 2nd of November, which is National Children's Day in South Africa, to launch a report that should leave us horrified as a country. We have worked in partnership with Deloitte Africa to put together a report that says, what is the cost of child poverty in South Africa? We know that a lot of money is put into alleviate by the fiscus, by the private sector, by NGOs, but we've not stopped the rand and cents. And so today's report tells us that we're spending almost 700 billion rand in different programs that are intended to reduce the poverty and the impact of poverty on children. But the scary thing is that we're not seeing the results downstream. So today we're here to launch a groundbreaking piece of work that Deloitte has spent the greater part of this year working on to galvanize conversations around if we've been doing something and we're not getting the results that we need to be getting, what should we be doing differently? And also looking at not just the cost now, but the economic potential that is foregone by us continuing the trajectory that we're currently on. So that's what today is about, launching this report that I hope everybody is going to take time to read, to reflect on, and to think about what are the different interventions that we need, because the current ones are not giving us the results that we should be getting.
What do you think needs to be done if to fight poverty, especially to children?
So I think what needs to be done is, first of all, to look at, from a policy perspective, what needs to change. So we know that there's 13 million children currently living in poverty, 1/3. That's the size of some nations on this continent. So we cannot ignore the fact that if 13 million children are living in poverty, it means there's 13 million potential adults that will forever be dependent on the state. So what needs to change from a policy perspective to ensure that the child actually buys food that's nutritious for children and not just calories that feed them? What do we need to be doing from a policy perspective to make sure that a school that a child is going to is actually a safe school? What do we need to make sure that in a community where we know that there's a high level of violence, we really screen to make sure that those perpetrators are kept away from children. They also need, so there's a poverty issue that's financial, that's economic, but there's also a behavioral poverty that we're exhibiting. And that's where I then put a challenge on every single South African to say, how safe are the children in your sphere of influence, and what you're doing about it? Because the state is not raising children in homes. We are raising children in homes. So how safe are the children in your home? How safe are the children in my home? How safe are the children in the homes of every viewer that is going to see this? And what we're going to do differently, because the safety is created by us, and the lack of safety is equally created by us.
When it comes to safety now, as the CEO of the Children's Fund, responsible for children, the country has been experiencing tragic incidents of children dying of eating snacks and other things, food poisoning and all of that. What is the fund doing?
So as a fund, what we can do and we are doing is this kind of thing. There's the advocacy work that we're doing. There is working in communities with implementing partners to create the awareness and the education around child safety. But it has to be, what's the word I want to use? To be vigilant as the caregivers, because the fund is not sitting in homes and buying snacks for children. So we also need the vigilance as caregivers of making sure that the food that I'm buying for my child doesn't just fill their stomach, but is actually safe for them to eat. And it's such a pity that we've had to bury children for us to start having the conversations around how safe is the food. So I would call on the community radio stations, the community leaders, to be creating that we never again have to deal with children being buried because the food that should have given them energy actually led to their deaths.
I heard that the MEC of Agriculture, Voice Ramakgopa, is also coming here, the MEC of Agriculture and Rural Development in this province. You have a partnership. How is your partnership working?
Well, this is a new administration, so we're really trying to strengthen the partnership. You know, part of the problem we face is that in South Africa, enough food is produced for every single human being who lives in this country to have adequate nutrition. But a lot of it is being thrown away. And so as the custodian of agriculture in the province that we've got the easiest access to because we are based in Gauteng, is to also start the conversations that say, let's start where we are. What's the difference we want and we need to make with the agricultural players in our province to make sure we can deal with the issues of hunger and malnutrition in children? Because if we can deal with those before they become adults, we've got a fighting chance of being able to change the trajectory of their lives.
Do you think this report and this event will change children's lives?
I think, well, a report can't change children's lives,
yes,
but what it's got to do is to change the conversations. It's got to ignite discussions around from a policy level. What do we need to do differently? Because we are doing the stuff, but we're not getting the results. So if we continue to do stuff when we're not getting the results, then we're meeting the definition of insanity. So the question becomes, what do we need to do differently? We're not going to get the answer today, but we're going to start the conversations today.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Well, that was the Chief Executive Officer of the Nelson Mandela Children's Fund engaging us about the launch that is about to start here. We were told that the MEC of Agriculture and Rural Development in this province, that would be Voice Ramakgopa, is also expected to also come and attend. We will have a conversation with her after the launch. Back to you in studio.
Listen, Calvin Gludla, we certainly will be keeping an eye on that story. Thanks very much indeed for bringing us that update.